So the Brood 9 was pretty much localized to, let's see, Southwest Virginia, most West Virginia, and Northwest North Carolina.
Huh.
Hey,
Periodical cicadas don't occur in Richmond proper.
there you are.
Hey, the
Because-
closest population we have is 13 years just west of the city. That's it.
Huh.
That's a bummer. I was looking forward to them.
Well, you don't have to drive far, but it'll be a few years.
Yeah.
2011, I think, was the last 13-year emergence locally.
Cool.
All right, so we've got another minute here. Is Melanie here?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not,
Hello, Nancy. Long time no
Oh,
see.
hi.
You too, Lisa and Ben.
I
I had heard that you'd made your face mask friendly, and now I'm seeing it.
yeah, I miss it so much.
I bet you do.
I've lost all my arcane powers,
I'll be back.
Oh yeah, it shall return.
Like Melanie joined in. Good morning.
There's Melanie.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to see you all. All right, well, it's 10:30. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll be opening the Research and Collections Committee. The members, myself, Art Evans, Tom Benzig, Lisa Morner, and Melanie Stowe are all here. We also have Ben Williams, the Science Administrator, Nancy Moncrief, our Mammal Curator. Any of the other curators here today?
Not yet, although Adam Pritchard might pop in.
Okay, all right. Well, let's.
And I think Carol Nash is here too.
Oh, okay.
Carol,
Great.
are you there? She was here.
All right. Okay. Well,
I'm
let's.
here. I'm here. I muted myself.
There you are. Good
Yeah.
morning.
Good morning. Hi, Art.
Let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. There are no minutes to approve. As you know, things were pretty sketchy in January. So we'll move on to the next piece of business, which is the acquisitions. This is an action item. I electronically signed a copy of this and forwarded it to Ben to forward to each of the committee members to have them sign the same document as well. So that will be circulating around. Does anybody have any comments about this quarter's acquisitions?
No comments.
All right, then we'll go on to other business. There's a few comments I'd like to make. In spite of the difficulties imposed upon us by this virus, I've been really impressed with the Natural History Museum's activities. Adam's series on Facebook are just excellent. I believe there are 13 episodes. I haven't had a chance to see them all yet, but they're very well done. And I hope that I'm certainly going to become more proactive in sharing that information. I think those things need a larger audience. And I do want to applaud Ben for his regular posts on Facebook. You have put natural history back into the Natural History Museum in the purest sense of the word by getting out and about and posting your observations in a very informed and engaging way. And I just kudos to that. I think it's excellent.
Thank you.
And it was fun to see the photos from the virtual reptile festival. Not sure how to absorb that, but it's great that it did come off in some fashion. I'm not sure I would have been creative enough to be that clever to come up with that particular that's great. So the other big announcement, at least that caught my eye, is Ollie Flint's long-awaited publication on the scorpion flies of Virginia. I know to the non-entomologists in the group, you're thinking, I don't even know what a scorpion fly is. but you will now. There are excellent images that are in this document that were put together by Carolyn Darrow at the Smithsonian, who's well known for her imaging expertise. Ollie's been working on this paper for many years, and it took so darn long because he wanted to put as many dots on the maps that he could. He was definitely an old school entomologist / naturalist, and he wanted everything there, and he did a very good job. I know that Cal worked very hard in shepherding it through toward the end, and Steve Roble with Natural Heritage also had a big role in editing the final document and getting it to publication. But this is another landmark entomological publication for Virginia, and it documents a very unusual, very interesting, and relatively poorly known group of insects. One thing in particular, and I won't comment any more on this, but the earwig flies, if you scan through the document, Merope, this is a group of insects that its nearest relatives are known only from fossils or from South America. More recently, I think Australia. They have a very odd distribution. So zoogeographically speaking, they're very interesting, and they can be very common here in Eastern North America, and their larvae are entirely unknown. So that would be a great project for somebody. I know that the Cornell Entomology Club at Cornell University, that's their stated goal, mission, is to find the larvae of this thing and describe it. So anyway, it's just very interesting. I'm really thrilled to see it out. I've done enough talking. Does anybody else have any observation, comments, or anything to talk about today? All right.
I'll second the comments about Ben's work. I really enjoy seeing the posts on Facebook, and it's amazing how I've been going on hikes with my daughter. We've been seeing many of the same things, so it's really fun to kind of see, okay, what's he going to put up next? Because we just saw the sphinx moth, so it's kind of fun.
That's been echoed by many people. That I guess the frequency of the posts and the interesting write-ups about them, people are noticing these things now on their strolls around, the local lake or at a park or something like that. So
right,
we intend to keep Ben in Nature, Adam's Tales of Ancient Life, and some other efforts active regardless of what happens with the pandemic.
Good. No, I think it's a very welcome addition, and like I say, it really puts natural history, the Natural History Museum, online. It's great to have that presence. Does anybody else have any other? Carol, this is the first time we're meeting, I believe.
Yes, it is. Hey.
Maybe you could introduce yourself to the group, or at least to me and everybody else who benefit.
Of course. Art, I don't know if you remember or not, but you and I worked together several times at Wintergreen at the Nature Foundation.
You looked familiar, but I'm to the point now, I just don't go with that anymore.
It's okay. It's okay. It's all right.
Okay.
Like me and my students, I will see students that I taught 25 years ago and think that they're back at AMU now.
Right.
20 years old, right?
Right.
So I am on faculty at James Madison University in the same department as Tom, School of Integrated Sciences. I'm an archaeologist and have been practicing archaeology in Virginia for about 40 years. And I'm the cooperating archaeologist for Shenandoah National Park. And my specialty is human ecology and Native American studies. So I kind of ride the fence between disciplines, do a lot of geoarchaeology and so forth. But I also oversee some significant archaeological collections here at JMU.
Right. So great. Well, it's wonderful to have you as part of the natural history family. We're really lucky to have you. And I please know that you're welcome at all of these meetings that I'm chairing. I fully look forward to seeing the curators at these meetings and getting their input as well. So
thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
I asked Carol to join us. I expect that she'll want to serve on the committee. So as I roll out the appointments for the coming year, we'll add Carol to the group.
Great. Great. Are there any other comments or observations? This could be, or yes, Joe. Oh, and Melanie, sorry, I saw Joe first.
Art, I'm perfectly fine if during the research and collections report that you bring up the hiring of Dr. Hayden Bassett as our assistant curator of archaeology, and that will start a search for Jim Beard's successor this fall.
All right. I'm making a note of this because otherwise it's going to slip through the cracks.
Hey, Adam.
Adam, welcome. We were just singing your praises moments ago. Love your video series on Facebook.
Oh, thank you. I was gonna say, I don't think there's any reason to be singing praises. No.
It's not every curator that has the interest or the drive to put themselves out there in a public forum. So I am thinking it deserves attention.
Oh, I am honored. Thank you, Art.
Okay, so Joe, just to be clear on that, Hayden is starting in July, August, and there'll be a search starting for Jim's replacement in the fall.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I'll be sure to add that to my summary.
And if you want to mention Hayden's pending funding through Department of Historic Resources, I mean, it's pretty much.
I'm going to need a little help. I was gonna say, I'm gonna need a little help with that. If somebody has a little bit more details and they can send me the printed word, that would be most helpful. Or is that somewhere in the stream of emails that have been coming?
No, I just found out last night. So.
All right, so speak slowly. Remember who you're dealing with here. Where's the funding coming from again?
Department of Historic Resources.
All right.
And the short version is that he'll spend 2 years surveying floodplain sites for Virginia
Smith River.
So of the Smith River. And these are sites that go from approximately 300 to I think almost 10,000 years ago.
Okay. And some of these sites have been continuously occupied for much of that time,
Apparently so.
as I recall from your earlier comments. Okay. All right. Melanie, there was something you wanted to say.
Well, I wanted to echo what's been stated. Being an educator and I follow a lot of, I know when COVID hit, everyone was scrambling as to what to do and how do you continue your mission when you can't open your doors. And so some people, well, I think everyone struggled, but the museum, in my opinion, and I follow a lot of agencies, did the best job, hands down, at continuing their commitment to education and natural history, because they didn't have to do the things that they did, and they could have done half the posts. So
Right.
I've shared those with a lot of my colleagues in education. I know that they're putting them on their virtual field trip sites. Anyway, it was just really well done. And I know there's a lot more to it than just making a video. Those were really well thought out and well scripted, and
Right.
I enjoyed them.
Right. Well, and it was nice. The cicadas were very timely too. So I'm glad you were on top of that, Ben. That's one of my regrets about the May meeting falling through, as I had intended to do a sweep through Southwest to and came not. So thanks for allowing me to live vicariously through your observations.
Well, I got a bunch of
anyone
criticism
else have You got about, oh, good. Okay. Yeah. The whole idea of cicadas right now just seems like, who's got time for cicadas? There's just so much else going on right now, but yes, eventually we'll get back to cicadas. Anyone else have any comments? Because it looks like we're close to wrapping this up, which is fine. Doesn't have to be long and arduous by any means. Anyone else like to speak up or comment? Joe, do you have any more announcements that would be pertinent to this group or just in general? Your audio is off.
Thank you.
There you go.
I think Lisa had a question or comment.
Yeah, sorry, I was talking up a storm, but apparently I was on mute. I guess I want to fifth the comments about Ben and his postings, but in particular, I had asked Joe to freeze some cicadas for us so we could have deep fried cicadas next time we were all together, and I'm wondering if that happened.
I believe Cal did put aside a number of local cicadas, and so we'll do the best we can once the pandemic allows for a free sharing of deep fried abdomens.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
No fungus for me, thanks.
Art, just to your point, we're very fortunate as an agency because don't forget, our foundation is research and collections. That's the primary reason this agency was developed in the 1980s. So that side of the building, it hasn't quite been business as usual. I would say curators and the support staff are spending about 50% of their time telecommuting, whether it's data analysis or report generation or whatever. And the rest of the time doing their normal day-to-day in the collections. And we're also fortunate, you think, it's a small staff, but here during a pandemic, a small staff with the square footage they have access to actually creates a very safe environment. Mm-hmm. So that aspect of our operation really isn't too badly impacted. I might, if Nancy or Adam want to chime in on this, I'm suspecting that loans and so forth have slowed down. But beyond that, I don't really know much of anything that's slowing down. Well, I don't see interns yet this year, and that might be something that I don't know, that we might have a little bit of a decline in just because of the lesser interest in traveling to a museum right now. So.
Speaking of loans, I know a lot of natural history museums currently have a moratorium on accepting returns, incoming loans. What's going on that front at the museum? Are you accepting returns right now, or have you asked people just to hold on to loans until further notice? What's the current status?
Right now, if we get we didn't really make a specific policy related to the pandemic, because outside of, if you get a return loan, let it sit in its own quarantine for a couple of weeks. And to underscore that, the latest information, excuse me, that's come out is that contact transmission is not a significant form of viral transmission.
Right.
So I think we're okay. So if we do receive a loan, we just let that sit untouched for a couple of weeks, and then you can.
Yeah.
And that's all I had to say. We're fortunate in that standpoint.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Anyone else? Yeah, Tom?
Yeah, I just wanted to share a small project that I've been working on, and some of you may be aware that a recent publication came out called Freshwater Fish, Field Guide to Freshwater Fishes of Virginia. That might be a little difficult to see. It's being put out by DGIF, and a number of the authors are either at DGIF or Virginia Tech. And so I went back with Joe's help to look at what is the fish collection in the museum currently, and it's fairly limited. So we're looking at partnering with the Virginia chapter of the American Fisheries Society to see whether they'd be willing to help us both curate the collection, identify what we have, and also add specimens to kind of fill out the representation of all the freshwater fishes in Virginia. So I just wanted to share with you that. And I also sent to Ben kind of a summary that I put together, again, with Joe's help. And I'll keep updating.
It's a great project,
That's good to hear. What's the extent of the collection? Are we talking about dozens, hundreds, thousands of specimens?
More like dozens, and
okay.
Mostly jarred and preserved that way. One of the things that we've been talking about in the context of the branch campus in Waynesboro, of course, is interpreting the South River, and we'd like to be able to display some of specimens perhaps representing the South River, or interesting fishes like the American eel, and tell the story of the American eel. And so that's one of the other motivations that I have for kind of revisiting what we have and building out the collection.
Are there any institutions in Virginia that have a focus on Virginia fish, or is the Smithsonian the best collection in the area?
I'm no expert on this, but it seems like that most
Hard to
people
say.
turn to Tech, and Don Orth and Eric Hallerman seem to be long-standing researchers who are most familiar with where specimens are in Virginia. So through the American Fisheries Society, I've already been in touch with them. And Brad Fink, who is the current president of the chapter, is willing to come to their board meeting and ask that they take this on as a project. So I'm waiting to hear back from him.
Okay.
So if I may, one thing that I know is in the archaeological collections at the museum are extensive examples of fish from archaeological sites, largely late woodland going back to the village period, the agricultural village period. But what's interesting is no one has really used those to actually map distribution of species that are no longer they're no longer today where they were then. And so I think that's a really interesting connection, perhaps to be made through your collections.
Yeah, that is true, Carol. And I'll just add that I think it was last year, a volunteer who's a retired faculty member, I think he did gel electrophoresis on some fish. We couldn't identify, it was just ribs or something. And I don't remember the story, but it was something like the identification of the fish was counterintuitive to what people had been presuming that the Virginia Indians were throwing into their stews. So I think there's a lot that can be learned, especially with modern techniques.
Yeah, those were some collections from the Virginia Beach area. And we worked on that site together. And one of the things that we learned is there was a lot of inshore fishing that was going on, and all kinds of creatures that we would have never thought would be included in the diet were showing up in these cooked contexts. And you just get this idea of inshore netting and all kinds of interesting stews that were being produced on a daily basis at these sites. Pretty cool stuff.
What do you got, Tom?
Yeah, I wanted to share one other thing, and this will give you a little heads up on what's going to happen during the Board of Trustees meeting. And I don't know how well you can see these two images, but these are both shads that are native to Virginia, the American shad and the hickory shad. And in addition to our visit to Richmond in January, I spent some time on the water during the shad run on the James River. And one of the images that you will see is of a hickory shad that I caught. So if you really want to sound smart during the Board of Trustees meeting, you can just chime in and say, oh, that must be a hickory shad.
If I may, Tom. Tom, I'm
Yeah,
very curious.
Adam.
Who did your illustrations? They look to be really like the perfect balance between diagrammatic and
Art.
realistic.
Yeah.
Val Kells and Joe Tomoleri. And I know Joe Tomoleri only because he's done a lot of artwork in the fish realm. Val Kells, I'm not familiar with. I think he's with DGIF, though, is my recollection. And again, I didn't publish this, but it's an excellent work.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Any other comments? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved. This is Lisa.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. We need to take a roll call vote. Ben, can you help with that?
Certainly. Dr. Art Evans,
Yes, adjourn the meeting.
you're in the meeting. Dr. Tom Benzing,
Aye.
Lisa Warner,
Aye.
Melanie Stowe.
Aye.
All right. See you all at 1:30. Bye-bye.
Well,